You're listening to the Staging Sips podcast with Lori Fisher. This podcast is dedicated to helping real estate staging CEOs build healthy businesses that grow, flow, and thrive. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for part 2 of your Sips favorite episodes. Of all of the 10,000 downloads, we are going through little snippets and pulling out little gems of your favorite episodes. Before we do that, though, I just want to dive in and I want to invite you as a thank you to all of you who have supported this podcast, who have listened in, who have taken the time to send me Instagram messages, to send me emails to tell me how much you have learned from the podcast. I just want to thank you for doing all of that and taking that time. And I want to host an event where we can come and meet each other in person, and I can offer free coaching to you and troubleshooting with you on your very specific questions for your business. So coming up on February 29th on 2024, at the time of this recording at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be having an open house. I'd love for you to join us. The link to do that will be in the show notes, but it's rethinkhominteriors.com/open house. So I encourage you to come and join, bring your questions. And one thing that will help you figure out what questions you have to join us, but will also help me create even better content as we move forward with Staging Sips, is if you took the time to fill out a little questionnaire that I have, just trying to understand a little bit more about what are the common struggles that many of us are having. If you would take a minute to do that, it would be so appreciated. And again, it's one of those situations where a rising tide lifts all boats. We can help other people. We often have similar problems. So that, again, link will be in the show notes, but it's rethinkhominteriors.com/SIPS survey. SIPSSURVEY. Again, both of those links will be in the show notes. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person on the 29th for our open house. So now let's dive into your favorites, your Staging Sips favorites. We're going to start off way back at episode 7, how to create client filters for your business. And this one is one I wish I had had when I was in the growth phase of business, because I didn't know you needed these things. And by the time I got to my accelerate phase of business, I thought, what is going on with some of these people I'm working with? It was because I did not have client filters in my business. This is super actionable, as are actually all of the episodes that you loved this week. They're super actionable, easy to implement in your own business. So enjoy how to create client filters for your business. We have a lot of tight brand loyalty with our clients. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're just very clear on what our client filters are, in addition to all kinds of other ways that we make our service invaluable and amazing. So I really want that for you as well. I want you to be creating a business that people love interfacing with, and they're really clear, and to know that you are looking out for them as much as you want to bring in revenue for your business. Okay. So here's the first one. If you have an occupied staging business in which you bring in inventory. So for us, that is a service that we offer. But the client filters for that are that the client cannot have pets, children, or smokers living in that household. Now, you can choose to not have those filters. However, and this is one I would put into place immediately, no matter where you are in your business. Because if you don't have these filters in place, be extremely prepared to communicate very often what the fee is to replace your damaged inventory. You really want to prepare your clients that should you put it into a home where there are pets, children, and smokers, if you need to clean or repair your inventory, what will it cost them? You want to communicate this over and over and over again. And just to help you out, if you go back to episode 5 about grounded communication and communication plans, if you look in the show notes, you can download a communication plan template. And inside of that template, you will also get access to a damage and loss report spreadsheet that you can use in your business should you ever encounter the situation if you don't have this filter in place. So that filter I would put in immediately. And this protects your clients from having to worry about your inventory or worry about having to pay damage fees, right? It just takes it right out of the off the table for them, because nobody really wants that. You don't want to be stressed by having somebody else's inventory in your home. If you encounter this situation, what we do is we do photo styling, and if we have a client who's got any one of those things, pets, smokers, or children, we recommend that we do photo styling, and we work with what the client has, in addition to maybe we recommend them bringing in purchasing some accessories that we give them guidance on. But we will not put in furniture or bedding that is from our inventory in those cases. Okay, episode 27. What's a lead magnet and why do you need one for your business? Again, we're diving into super actionable, step by step. We're getting a little techie, but I do my best to explain it in here. And I hope to make a compelling case for why a free offer lead magnet is great for your business. So enjoy this one. It's a good one. You're probably wondering, well, how do you even start to create a lead magnet, especially if you haven't created one before? So do not worry. I got you. Not a problem. We can make this happen. So the first thing is that the best lead magnets do a few things. They solve a problem. So think about the coffee table example. We'll go back to that. So if somebody has a coffee table and they're not sure how to style it, and we see this very often, your lead magnet can solve that problem. It can show them that they can find things in their own house right now to style that. It has to be super specific. Just like that example, it's very, very specific. We're going to style coffee tables and we're going to use what they already own. Your lead magnet also needs to be easily digestible. What do I mean by that? It needs to incorporate little, maybe bullet points or a little bit of text with some pictures to make it very easy for somebody to consume it. If it's too long, too wordy, too many paragraphs, it might be difficult for a person to get what they also need to get, which is a quick win. It's another great key to having an excellent lead magnet, is that easily digestible material gives them a quick win. So if they follow your formula for coffee tables, they will end up feeling great about how they've styled their coffee table using things they already own and things they probably never imagined could be used to style a coffee table. And the best lead magnets, as I said, demonstrate your expertise. So when someone gets a quick win, they're like, oh, dang, this person knows what they're talking about. I should absolutely hire them because this is what it looks like to work with them. So the way that you start to create one of these really great lead magnets that solves a problem and creates a quick win is you start paying attention to what others have that have enticed you. That is a really great place to start, because if something has enticed you, most likely it will entice other people. So that could be a really great place to start. One of the things that I, thought in the beginning of my business was I had followed somebody who had how to style a dark sofa, because I was coming across a lot of dark sofas in the beginning of my staging business. And it was a great little tutorial and guide about how to style a dark sofa. It was super helpful to me. So even though I didn't turn that into a lead magnet, that is something that could have been turned into a lead magnet. So start paying attention to the things that you have liked. What do people ask you? I'm sure when you go out into the world and you tell people that you're a stager, they have questions like, oh, I never know what to do with whatever. Do we change the wallpaper? I never know how to style my coffee table. What do you think would be helpful for people to have? So, when you start your journey, again, you might be encountering what I did, which was like a lot of dark or a lot of dark sofas. And I thought, it would be helpful. What if I thought it would be helpful to give these people a guide to style their coffee or their sofa with lighter accents or something like that? That could be very helpful. Or how to update furniture that you've had for 20 years to make it feel fresh and new, or something like that. What do people struggle with the most? One of ours is a no-fail neutral paint guide. And that is because I had a lot of people that were struggling with paint colors that, they would never knew what to paint it, or they painted something and they didn't like it. And then it also helped my team when I was onboarding new team members. It was a resource guide for my team members to know what neutral paint colors we found work best. So all of that should start to get your creative juices flowing. You can go out and start to see what interests you and start thinking about what are people struggling with, or people ask you, that can guide what you create. And so when you go to create your lead magnet, there are a few things that you need to have in place. Okay, we're taking it all the way back to episode 6, grounded communication. I loved recording this episode because I knew it would help so many people. We often get asked all kinds of questions, crazy questions, outlandish things. We find ourselves in strange situations where we're not sure what we should be communicating to our clients. So this episode is all about beginning to create responses to strange scenarios. And I actually even have a free offer in here for you, which is the communication plan that we have in Rethink Home Interiors. All of our templated answers for pretty much all of the scenarios, just to leave it at that. Pretty much any scenario you encounter, there's a response inside of that communication template for you. So head over to that episode and download it. Detaching yourself from your corporation is only the first part of the equation. There are 3 other components to really solid, grounded communication. The first is deciding how you will communicate your policies ahead of time. And the reason that you want to spend time thinking about how you will communicate policies, whether that's around an emergency D stage, whether that's around choosing the furniture for a stage, what happens if your inventory becomes damaged or stolen while in a property, how do you communicate that? The reason we want to decide ahead of time is because it taps into your rational brain, but you can also develop your responses from emotionally neutral language, right? So sometimes when we've encountered a situation where maybe our inventory, how about our team has been delayed because of conditions on the site are not viable for our team to be able to install, whether that's to access the property or whether that's because the conditions inside aren't great. We might want to call or text and be annoyed that our team is sitting there, annoyed that we can't get in, frustrated, stressed because maybe our team needs to be somewhere else on the next installation. And this is now going to mess up the whole day and the logistics and all of that. So if you've decided ahead of time and you have actually developed and written out communication plans, you can simply just copy, paste, plug and chug, and communicate from your neutral brain, not your emotional brain. And here's the deal. It also doesn't have to feel super corporate. And the resource that I wanted to share with you is a communication template, a communication plan template, where there are all of the ways that we communicate from Rethink Home Interiors, our communication plans for several scenarios. And I'm giving that to you as just a fun freebie to have from this podcast so that you can plug it into yours. And you'll see that we have direct and neutral languaging, but we're also very much in our own kind of Rethink Home Interiors. We love exclamation points and emojis and happy and joy and all of that. But you'll see that in our communication plan, we're absolutely able to let somebody know that, if they've said we need an emergency D stage, you will see that we communicate in a really friendly way that lets them kind of put our client at ease, but also says, hey, we have to charge this fee and, you agreed to it essentially. So we're charging it. So that's why you want to decide ahead of time, and it takes your emotion right out of it. We also want to decide ahead of time if there are any exceptions to your policy. Okay, episode 28, how to schedule your staging consultations. Oh, this is a great one. I feel like I say that with all of them, but they are really good. This one's a really good one. And again, very actionable, something you can implement in your business immediately. One of our Accelerate students just implemented this, and she is loving it. So join us by learning how to schedule your staging consultations in a much easier way for you. As we got busier, and as clients were booking us more repeatedly, if they were sending in a check to us, then we had a lot of administrative time on the back end, sending an invoice and then keeping that invoice open and having to continue to circle back to that until payment was received. And what would happen is for clients who worked with us repeatedly, they wouldn't remember which appointments they paid for, which they didn't. They might not mark it on the memo line, which invoice they were paying for, what property it was. So we wouldn't necessarily know where to apply it. And it just is super, super confusing. So we've created basically what we call a booking funnel. And I'm going to share that with you today. Now, the tools that I use, you may not need to use these same tools. The reason why I use the tools that I have, and I'll point out when maybe you can use something different, is because I was trying to create this when there weren't the technologies in place to make this more streamlined. So like, for example, I don't use HoneyBook or Gusto or 17 Hats, and I don't know a lot about those platforms other than people use them and they love them. But I might have created a version of that before those things existed or before the capabilities for what I wanted to do existed. So I just want to put that caveat out there. So you might not need to use as many pieces of technology to make this work as we did. But anyway, so like I said, we wanted to create a funnel process. We wanted to create a funnel process not only for the payment and scheduling, but also for the way that people came into our booking funnel. So I would get text messages from people wanting to schedule. I would get phone calls from people wanting to schedule. We would get emails from people wanting to schedule. And so Facebook messages for people who wanted to schedule. And so we wanted one point of like one thing that we could send them to, whether they called or texted or whatever way that would get them into the process a little more seamlessly. So the first step was that we created a pretty link, is what you call it, a pretty link, which is where you can take an ugly link and turn it into something that's branded. So in our case, rethinkhomeinteriors.com/eval, because that was the appointment that we get requested the most in all of these various ways. So that's what we called it. You could call it consult or whatever you want to call it. So that's the first thing we created. And that's pretty links is how, what you use for that. Anyway, so what would happen is when somebody clicks on that pretty link, they go to what's called a landing page. And a landing page, as we talked about in Lead Magnet podcast, which was episode 27, we took them to a landing page, which we created in Lead Pages, leadpages.com. And that landing page has two buttons. One says, and it says styling evaluation. I am a realtor or seller. I would like to pay for the styling eval and schedule the styling eval. So when someone clicks that button, they go to our Acuity calendar. And we use Acuity because we love it and because you can schedule appointments with multiple team members. So we have a photo styling service that is 2 team members. So Acuity enables us to create a merged calendar with our team members, two team members or pairings of them. And then somebody can book for the earliest available that pair of team members have available, and it gets marked off on both of their calendars. The other nice thing about Acuity, as many of you probably know, it integrates nicely with PayPal or Stripe, depending on what you want to use. So you can take payment at the time of scheduling. Amazing. So that's the easiest part. So that's when the realtor and the seller are they're paying and scheduling. Okay. Episode 11, how to book more staging consultations with one simple strategy. This is walking you through my sales conversation and the questions I ask and how I guide a client to a yes to our staging process. So again, something you can implement immediately when you listen to this. So enjoy it so you can sell more staging this year. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics now. So we've talked all about the belief, your belief plans, your
belief bias is your sales triad: believing in yourself, your client, your process, and your clients. Let's get into the mechanics of the get acquainted call itself. So the first thing is that you need to know is that clients will reach out to you in various ways. They will call you, email you, text you, Facebook you, Instagram you, but you get to define your sales intake process. And a get acquainted call is an excellent way to start that, to funnel people to a get acquainted call. Now you can use an app like Calendly or Acuity or, there's probably so many, Honeybook, 17 Hats. I'm sure they all have scheduling capabilities. But basically what you want to do is schedule your get acquainted calls with people. Have them choose a time that works for them and works for you. That's why you want to give them a calendar to look at. And it's about a 15 to 20 minute call to help your client make an empowered decision about whether they want to move forward with staging and why. Scheduling it is super, super important because both people really need to be focused in order to make an empowered decision. You don't want to catch people, or you don't want them to catch you while you're driving or distracted in any way, right? We want both sides, both you and the prospective client, to be in a place where you can ask meaningful questions and get, meaningful answers, and they can ask meaningful questions and get meaningful answers without distractions in the way. Also, scheduling a get acquainted call demonstrates a willingness on your client's part to make a decision and take an action step toward their future, right? So it's a tiny little micro conversion, as they call it. It's a micro conversion to taking a step forward to their future. So the big thing is you want to make sure that you're creating time blocks for your get acquainted calls to happen on a daily basis. Maybe you schedule them for early in the morning, you schedule them for middle of the day, you schedule them for the evening so that you can provide a variety of time slots for people. But you want to make sure that they are situated at times that you're going to be available. You know that you'll likely be at your desk in a quiet place most of the time, or you're able to be, right? So make sure you create those time blocks, and they're time blocks so that you don't need to be worried about those appointments getting on your calendar at all hours of the day. So this way, like in my case, I do them first thing in the morning and I do them at the end of the quote unquote work day, as it were, right? So that I'm available to the clients and if they need to call in at the end of a work day kind of thing. But either way, I know those are my time chunks for get acquainted calls. So once you get on the get acquainted call with a client, and actually the important thing is that you call them at the time of the scheduled appointment. This way you are demonstrating your professionalism back. Almost forgot to leave that out or forgot to put that in. So your get acquainted process. The first is when you first get on the phone, it's going to be just a first couple of minutes of ice breaking. You'll explain the process, that the call is 15 to 20 minutes so that you can learn more about their situation and share how your team can help them. And then, you'll talk about the next steps and, answer any of their questions. And then you will simply say, how does that sound? And the reason you want to do that is because, again, it's a little micro conversion. You're getting their buy-in to move forward. So then once you've kind of done that little explanation about what the call is about, I like to get some very simple information. How did they find out about us? So because we like to thank the people who referred us and get their contact information so that you have that for your next steps. So a little housekeeping there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the client through what I call the PDPT process. And this is problem, desired result, process, and transformation.
Okay, and those are your SIP's favorites. I think they were phenomenal choices, everybody. Really, really good. I'm excited to see what emerges in our next 10,000 downloads, what becomes the fan favorites there. And before you go, just remember, head to the show notes for those links for the survey, to join us in the open house on the 29th of February. And I would love to see you over on the Staging Business School's Instagram page. That's also down there. So definitely come say hi to me there. And you can always leave a review or give us stars here at the podcast, wherever you are listening. It helps all other business owners find us, and that's a good thing. what's what we really want out of staging SIP. So that is your SIP for the week. I hope you have a wicked good week, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.